Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jacinho, like on the screen right there. So we have made a signing. It's Here We Go confirmed from Fabrizio Romano, and it is the signing of Takehiro Tomiyasu from Bologna in Serie A. 22 years old, Japanese international, plays as a center back, but I'm sure we're going to be using him as a right back. Let's take a look at the deal. I have a community poll out right now that I want to know what you guys think about the signing. Are you excited about it? And then in the chat box, you can give me some more details on why you feel the way that you feel. And I'll give my thoughts on it in just a second. But Takehiro Tomiyasu to Arsenal agreement reached, and here we go. Personal terms agreed, and Bologna will receive 20 million plus 3 million in add-ons, medical during the afternoon, and then official announcement. Here we go. So it looks done. It's a done deal unless something crazy happens, like he fails his medical. But we have got a signing done. Right back is a position that I feel like there was a lot of anxiety surrounding, especially with the strange news coming out with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. That looks to be something that needs to be resolved. Hector Bellerin is off to Real Betis on a loan with an option to buy. And we know Cedric and Chambers are not up to the level in which we need. So with Tomiyasu, I looked at him originally when we were linked to him. He was also linked to Spurs at the same time. Obviously, Spurs have went in a different direction. And what's interesting to me about this is that we offered Hector Bellerin plus 10 for Emerson. And then we turned around and offered 20 million for Tomiyasu, even though we haven't gotten a fee for Hector Bellerin. Very weird way of doing business. If Emerson was your first choice, which I'm not sure 100% that he is, but if he is your number one choice, why not offer the 20 million plus Hector Bellerin to get your number one choice if you had 20 million? Because obviously you did, because you spent it on Tomiyasu. Now, I don't know the structure of the deal. Maybe Barcelona wanted more up front or whatever. I just think it's a little bit strange that we had 20 million to spend and we didn't just attach that to Hector Bellerin to get our number one choice, if that was it. But obviously, Spurs were linked heavily with Tomiyasu, and we were kind of the tag-along club. They moved in a different direction, and Tomiyasu is who we went for. And, I think, it's something that we needed to get done. I don't know a lot about him, but when I did look at him, I thought inverted right back or a right-sided center back in a 3 is probably how we play with him. I always had concerns around the idea that we would go with an overlapping right back. I never thought that was the way that we would go. I thought inverted was the reason why Callum Chambers had started to get more playing time towards the back end of last season with all of the right backs that we had available. To pick Chambers, I thought it was a profile thing. It definitely wasn't that he's so much better than Cedric and them. It's the profile, right? Playing more as an inverted right back that plays more like a central midfielder, when we're actually in our shape in possession. And I think that he would be able to do that. He's not quick. One thing that I know, he's faster than Chambers, but he's not that fast. So he's definitely somebody that you probably want to stay quite close to, attached to his back line. But what I did see was that I thought he was quite direct in offensively. He has a good range of passing, but I ultimately think he's going to be an inverted right back / right-sided center back. And I think it would be nice, going into these next couple of games for maybe Arteta to go into a safer kind of formation. A back 3 would be very welcome, in my opinion. I know we're playing Norwich, but we need to stop the bleeding, and maybe playing with a 3-back of Gabriel, White, and Tomiyasu would be a good idea. I like the profile in terms of age range. 22 is right around that same age group that we've been kind of shopping in for this window. So I like the consistency there. And what I'm really looking towards now is Ben White, Gabriel, Tomiyasu, Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka. Most of these players at this point are Arteta's players, so I would expect him to be able to take these guys onto the training pitch and make them better. The whole point of us bringing in Arteta was that he was supposed to be so good at developing young players, and I don't think we've really seen that since he's been here. So I'm looking at White, Gabriel, Tomiyasu. I would expect them to improve. That's the whole reason why you get young players, is so you can increase their value and develop them over time. So that's really what I'm looking at. So obviously it's not as exciting as a signing as I think a Hakimi would have been, or Riddle Baku, but I think this, from a profile perspective, makes a lot of sense. It's not overly expensive. The guy looks good. He passes my eye test. I just think it's a one that we're going to have to wait and see, because he did play in Serie A. For me, I don't rate that league very highly. I think there's a lot of space. I don't think it's quite as physical as the Premier League, and I don't think you have to be as athletic. So will he be able to adapt and not become a liability due to the adaptation, from league to league? But this is definitely a jury's out. It's not a smash hit. It's a jury's out, but looks promising and makes sense in terms of profile for me. So what do you guys think about the signing? Let's see. And you guys, honestly, I don't really like comments about him, based on his race and jokes like that. I've seen a lot of that, and it makes me really, really uncomfortable, and it's kind of cringy, so I think we have to be careful about making assumptions about who he's going to be based on his race, just saying. Matt G says, I don't know anything about him, but the small amount I've seen and read, he looks like the right profile for the team. Also, something that I like is that he is 6'2", and we're quite short, in our back line. So that's a pretty good thing. Augustine says, good morning, Jess. Good morning to you as well. You guys, honestly, I woke up and I was like, okay, I went to bed early, and I was like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 12 a.m., my time. And I was like, okay, we're just going to see what's going on. And for an hour or so, nothing really happened. It's now 4 a.m. So I've been up for 4 hours, and I was just about to get in the bed and take another 4-hour nap. It's not really a nap, I guess, if it's 4 hours, but I was going to get back in the bed, and I had just gotten under the sheets. And then I looked at my phone, and we had Here We Go from Fabrizio Romano. So yeah, I just got up just to do this, because I wanted to make sure that I got this stream out here. Glenn Cook says, 2-footed, 6'2", athletic, balanced attacker and defender. It's a smart buy, in all honesty. Great. If you know more about him than me, please put it in the chat. I really want to know more. From first glance, this is what I'm seeing, so I could be completely wrong, but yeah, you guys let me know. Matt G says, Jess, have you checked on George? We didn't sign Riddle Baku. I hope he's going to be okay. I think he's perfectly fine. Yeah. Let's see. Glenn Cook says he's pretty quick. G. Costi says, big up, Jess. Big up to you as well. Zick says, please go back to bed and we might get a center midfielder. I mean, you guys, I'm still hoping that comes through. It's more, I expect it not to, but I'm hoping that it does. We really, really need a midfielder. We really, really do. Going into the season with Thomas, Xhaka, Lokonga, and El Neni is unacceptable in my opinion. I'm seeing weird rumors about Moussa Dembele. I hope that they're just rumors, because you don't go to Lyon and come out with Moussa Dembele and leave Bruno Guimaraes and Houssem Aouar there. So I'm hoping that it gets done. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the window's shut and we were just, this is what we did. I wouldn't. Joseph says, if our midfield had Jess's work rate, we'd look good in the middle of the park. Big up yourself, Jess. Quality content and coverage as always. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. Let's see. Tiger and Gunnar says, how long do we have left until the deadline? Deadline day ends. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out like what time it is where you guys are, because I'm not sure. It's about 12 p.m. It's 12 p.m. your guys' time. So what is that? 10 hours or so? Zig says, I mean, get a war on loan at least. I mean, please. I mean, the worst part about it is knowing, and I know this, we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to others, but I cannot help it when I'm seeing that Spurs are linked to Awa, Spurs are linked to Neves. Like, if they're able to get 2 midfielders in one window plus a defender, you know, it's just not, you know, and they keep Harry Kane. I mean, come on. Like, we have to be able to, like, do better business. Like, it's so obvious what we need to do. Get midfielders. It's so obvious. We needed 1 or 2. We got Lakanga, but at least one of them needed to be a starter. And I know Lakanga is technically a starter at the moment, but he wouldn't be if our Party wasn't injured. So it's really, really obvious that we needed a midfielder, and I just don't feel like we're going to get it done, and we're going to make up excuses, and there's no excuse. Sei says, any news about Awar or Basuma? Last I saw was that Awar was completely off the table, and that Spurs were negotiating with him so he could potentially go there. And Basuma, there were some faint kind of reports that we were in for him at 35 million, but I just don't see it coming to fruition. I just don't think we have the facilities. We've left it all too late. And I also keep looking at the numbers and I'm thinking, do we even have space to bring these players in? I'm not sure, because we just have too many players on our books still, you know, so I'm not even sure if we could bring somebody in. Gid says, Jess, we need at least 1 or 2 signings, definitely 1 CM, exactly. But what do you guys think about Tomiyasu? Like, is this somebody like, so Tomiyasu, Ben White, Gabriel Tierney, is that a good balanced back 4 for you? Because for me, it makes a lot of sense. Play with an inverted right back, let Tierney bomb on, move into a back 3 when we're in possession. Slash the back 2, Tomiyasu moves into the midfield. He's quite good on the ball from what I've seen, and his passing range is really, really good. So I think it makes a lot of sense from profile. And that's the thing, it's like the profiles are spot on. The priorities are what's messed up. It's not the profile doesn't matter if you don't hit your marks. And I think not improving the midfield with a starting midfielder is an issue. Like, I really, really do. But we got the right back, and that's one big one that a lot of people were like, I cannot live with Cedric and Chambers for a season. So we've kind of done that. It's just we need a midfielder, you know? And the thing about it too is that, you know, a lot of these are wait and sees, you know, these are long-term signings that we won't really know what they're going to be like until we see them on the pitch, we see them working together and they improve. But this is again where Arteta needs to come into play. The whole reason for having Mikel Arteta is because he's supposed to be really good with young players and be able to coach them up. I've not seen that yet, if I'm completely honest. You know, I haven't seen the level that I feel like, you know, Raheem Sterling and Leroy Sané vibes. I haven't seen that. You know, I've seen our young players kind of stagnate or decline, our best players decline. And so what if Holding looks better and Mustafi look better? They're not our priorities. Well, they're not mine. Psycho Vibe says, I expected them to go all out in the transfer window, but changed my expectations when I saw the players we brought in. What does all out mean for you? Is it just the names weren't what you expected? The level? We have to also remember that, not to be negative, but being outside of Europe, it was definitely going to affect the types of players that we could bring in, because we're just not that attractive at the moment. So I think we were always going to have to go for a different profile of players. So we went with very talented, high upside young players between the ages of 21 and 25. And that's fine. That's kind of what I expected being outside of Europe. For us to try to get players like the Locatellis and the Martinez's, and I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about in terms of all that, or all going all out, but we were never going to be able to get them unless we overspent massively on their wages and the fee, and also if we didn't have Champions League or some sort of Europa League, So I don't think if we had tried to get Thomas Partey and like a Kieran Tierney now, we'd be able to, because they came when we had Europa League. We don't even have that now, so the levels have definitely changed. Is the deal off? You guys, is the deal off? I think you're just saying that. I've seen several people try to tell me that. But yeah, it depends on what you consider all out. I think we went all out, but we did it in the wrong priorities. If you had brought in Ben White and Ramsdale, but you had still gotten Basuma, in Tomiyasu, I probably wouldn't be as agitated. But I'm agitated because that midfielder is just not there. It's not what we expected. Lokonga is perfectly fine, but let's be real. Like, he's a project at this point, Let's see. Emmanuel says, I heard Arteta has one game to prove himself. Is that true? I don't know. I really don't. I have a hard time believing that they're going to sack Arteta as quickly as they probably need to. If he loses against Norwich, what will be the excuse? Oh, well, the players haven't gelled. Oh, this, oh, that. But realistically, they should be looking at new managers now. They should have actually sacked him after the Europa League. It's not acceptable no matter what, and we're 20th, and there's no precedent and no evidence and no examples of a manager getting a team beyond 7th place if they've started off in the relegation zone after the first three games. And the idea that Mikel Arteta is going to be the first one is so far-fetched to me. Like, we've already set ourselves up to kind of not make our target, and I could have sworn our target was Europa League at the very least. If you don't, he would have to really, really turn it around to get to 7th. And that's unacceptable to me. That's because we didn't get... The league is getting tougher. We can't just throw games away. It's back in the day, we could just say, well, these teams are better than us, so what? We're going to batter the rest of the teams. We don't batter other teams. There's no respect for Arsenal Football Club anymore. We're not going to play against Norwich and roll over them. We're not going to go to Burnley and turn them over at Turf Moor. We're not going to do that. So this run that I think people are thinking that we're going to go on based on the performances that I've seen doesn't really make sense. It's not really about the results. It's about the performances. And I think there may be some players that don't believe in what Arteta's saying. I don't know about you guys, but the performances that I'm seeing don't say we back the manager, we're going to play as hard as we can, we're playing for the shirt. It's saying something different to me, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. O'Malley says, watch out for Neves, Basuma, or Aouar next. I think who we get depends if Laka is staying. I think Lacazette is staying, 100%. Who is going to take Lacazette on these wages? Like, there's just nobody out there. If us improving our midfield is dependent on whether we sell Lacazette, then just close up shop. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, multiple opportunities to sell Eddie Nketiah. An opportunity last season to capitalize or get something from Lacazette, somebody that we spent $50 million on, and now we've never gotten for $50 million. Can you say that what we've gotten from Lacazette in the 3-4 years that he's been here has been worth that? You pay $50 million, especially this is a couple of years ago, you guys. This is $50 million in that market. That is a lot of money. We have not gotten what we thought we would get paying $50 million for Lacazette. Now we're going to let him walk for free. Nketiah, several opportunities to sell him last summer, in January, twice this summer, didn't take it. The opportunity cost of that could potentially be not getting in a midfielder. That is mad to me. Like, I can't with this. I cannot sit here and act like I think things are just fine, because I don't. Like, I just can't. I can't. Let's see. Ignatius says, Jessica, you're not completely negative about Arteta, and that's your opinion, but you can't tell me he's not good with young players. How is Sambi doing? Well, Sambi's only been here for 2 games, so I wouldn't attribute what he's done so far at Arsenal to Arteta, because that's clearly what he got from Anderlecht. So I would say you could take Sambi out. Saka and ESR are really good players who I would want to see more progression from them. I think that our reliance on them is hurting their progression, and that is a symptom of the way that we've managed the team over the last couple of years. And not all of that is Arteta, but there's not a good structure around those players to allow them to thrive and progress at a rate that I think makes sense. And I would just say, let's just hold our horses on Saka and ESR. I'm not convinced that he's the main reason why they've looked great. Let's be real. ESR was good when Emery was here, and so was Saka. They have progressed, but I'm not completely negative on Arteta. I'm just being honest about the negatives. And there are negatives to Arteta. There's Arteta tax because he's inexperienced. I'm not completely negative on him. I think he did make strides at the back end of last season. And I was honest about that because that's the truth. He did make strides. We were a lot better towards the back end of last season. But you can't say that what we've seen since the beginning of the season bodes well for his future at Arsenal. And just because we're not supposed to beat Chelsea and we're not supposed to beat Man City doesn't mean it's okay to put out teams like that, to start Said Kolasinac over your boy Pablo Marie, or even putting Tierney at left-sided center back, to not play a 3-4-3 and match Tuchel. I mean, this is Arteta tax here, so being honest about the negatives does not mean that I'm completely negative on it. I'm just shedding light on something that I'm seeing. Arteta is probably a good coach on the training pitch, but he lacks man management. And that's just how I feel about it. But I don't really think that you can add Sambi in there, because let's be real, he just got here and there's no way that he's improved under Arteta after preseason. We would need more evidence of that, in my opinion. Let's see. Like, I don't think Arteta's ruined all of our young players. Like, this is a thing that I can't, honestly, that really just kind of annoys me a little bit, is that you have to be either completely all positive or completely all negative. People want you to be super binary so that they can classify you. I've always said that. I never agreed with Arteta's ruining our young players. Arteta has an agenda against Martinelli. Arteta hates this player and hates that player. I've never said that. That's completely negative and not using any sense, because that's clearly not true. But that doesn't mean that Arteta is right all the time and that I should just ignore clear signs of issues with his management because I want to be on one side and make sure I stay consistent. I'm going to say exactly how I feel, regardless to if it looks like flip-flopping to people or it looks too harsh or whatever. It's just a little bit tiring, you guys, to be honest. I'm not completely negative on Arteta. I just think that there's clear issues here that it's okay to address, Io says, Basuma clock is ticking. I would just say, I wouldn't wait around for that. Nashville Gunnar says, the fact that AMN is no longer training with the first team shows how bad his man management is. And this is the thing. It's like, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was 100% wrong for the way that he went about making his feelings known about the club. 100% not right. Just like Guendouzi was not right. Just like Saliba may have made mistakes. My issue with this is that we're supposed to be the grown-ups in the room. Arsenal is not just about disciplining players and showing people that you're not going to take this. It's also about making sure that you are protecting the value of assets at our club that are really valuable, because guess what? We don't have Chelsea money. We don't have Man City money. So we have to move differently. And is it so far out of the realm of reality that maybe this inexperienced management team doesn't know the best way to deal with young players that color outside of the lines? I don't think that that's so far-fetched, and I don't think that's wrong to say. Saliba, Guendouzi, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles may have been different, and I do think Guendouzi is a little bit of an outlier here because he's a known issue. But mostly for me, especially when it comes to Saliba and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, what they asked for was clarity on their future and playing time. And they didn't get that because the club was not clear. And I don't think it's wrong for them to want to take control of their career. And young players make mistakes. So why can't we be grown-ups, give them the clarity that they need, make sure their paperwork for their loans go out on time? That is a huge issue. We have an issue with how we deal with young players that are on the fringes. I don't know how you can look at it and say that we're managing it correctly and these are just bad eggs. And not only that, even if they are bad eggs, we still have to figure out a way to sustain their value, to maintain their value. And we don't do it. We just tank it by sending them to the under 23s, exiling them, not giving them loans. People are like, well, Everton wanted a loan and da-da-da. I understand that. Maybe it wasn't the best deal, but you also had an opportunity to sell him for 50 million to Wolves and you didn't do that. You're blocking moves for him left and right, and he wants clarity on his future. He said that before. He had come back from his loan from West Brom and got no clarity. Now a loan deal comes in for him and you block it. So again, they're not right and they do make mistakes. But we're the grown-ups in the room and we have to protect our business, and we're not doing that. We're allowing Arteta to make decisions about how we treat players that we need to be able to sustain and keep value for. So this whole thing about protecting the club when there's clear issues there, and that doesn't mean that everything that they've done is wrong. You know what I mean? So it's just, or everything that they've done is right either. So I don't know. It just irritates me that you have to be one side or the other, and then they go going so hard on one thing. Re-signing a lot of our young players to new long-term deals is great business and something that we haven't done in the past and deserves to be applauded. Even though it should be basic, of course, that's good business for us. Selling Willock, good business. 25 million with a sell-on clause or whatever it was, for a fringe player, really good business. But that doesn't mean that there's not fault there, that they haven't made mistakes. I don't know why we can't address both sides. I don't get that. It's ridiculous to me. Ainsley Maitland-Niles does not need to be in the under 23s because he did that. He doesn't. I just don't think so. Let's see. Wenger Kid says, question, remember how messed up that place was since Arsene left? How do we expect this new chapter to be smooth sailing? Mistakes will be made and things will settle down. I don't really agree with that. I think the idea that, of course there's bumps in the road, and so that part to me is true, but some things are avoidable with people that know what they're doing, to just think that this is just how it's going to go because that's what you should expect. Of course, we should expect things not to be perfect, but we still have to make sure that the people in charge know what they're doing and don't make the ride more bumpy than it has to be. So I don't really agree that we should just allow these things to happen and accept that this is normality when there are issues there. There are different ways to handle things. And other teams have gone through similar things, and I don't see this level of just complete circus act 24/7. And I can't ignore it and act as though I think that this is just how things go and we should just accept it. The idea that Saliba and Guendouzi and Ainsley Maitland-Niles are just bad eggs and we should just just accept that and accept the fact that we probably won't get any fees for any of them. Well, maybe not Saliba, but we'll see about that. But we should just accept this. Doesn't make sense to me. And we should be checking up behind Arteta. Like, he should not just get blind faith either. Usually somebody who is new at their job has some sort of person watching over them, and there's not a lot of checks and balances going on at this club. Banky says, morning, Jess. I'll take him over what we have now, to be honest. And by the way, it's nice seeing you on Lady Show with Sophie. Big up yourself for all the hard work. Please get some rest and ease stress. Yes, I will. We're going to go for just a couple more minutes. Matt G says, we need to be mindful not to believe everything we read. The AMN getting frozen out story came from John Cross of the Mirror. Last week, most fans would have said Cross isn't reliable. And I understand that too, that, not every single thing that comes out in the media is true. But that also, for me, means that I feel like on both sides, we're making assumptions. Sides that are saying that the club is not doing anything wrong don't have any more information, any more correct information about what's going on than I do. So I tend to think that where there's smoke, there's fire. And clearly, for me, something is not right. And I would expect Arsenal to be able to manage it in a way that doesn't make us look like a circus act. But I get what you're saying about we have to be mindful. And I said yesterday as well that I do think that was what came out from Ornstein was definitely a agent briefing, about him wanting to play midfield and had right back and had said that since the beginning of the season. I definitely think that his agent is involved in this as well, trying to get him a move so things are a little bit more out in the open than they really should be. But I also feel like if you give Ainsley Maitland-Niles clarity on his future, a lot of this is nipped in the bud. And that's always my point with everything. We have to be the grown-ups in the room and control things. And I feel like the way that things manifest constantly in the media and how we always have these, every couple of months, there's something like this. It doesn't say control to me. It says like the opposite of that. But I do understand about the reliability of it. It's just, what is this level of circus act? I just don't get it. Thank you so much for joining the channel, Aaron. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys, also, I'll be doing a deadline stream. Well, first I'll be on with Elliot and everybody from Arsenal Vision for their deadline stream from 11 to 1 on their YouTube channel. And then from, not 11 to 1. What time is that for you guys? 9 to 11? No. What time is that for you guys? 11 to 1 my time. 7 to 9 p.m. UK time. 7 to 9 UK time, I'll be on with Arsenal Vision. And then I'll be back on my channel from 9 to midnight on this channel for deadline day. So make sure you guys come back. Aaron Lawrence says, Tomiyasu is good in dropping into the back line and providing progression, capable of staying deep in midfield, maintaining defensive stability, and possesses the ability to overlap, provide crosses. Good insight there. I think right now I would say I'm mostly positive about it. Still wait and see, jury's out, but I think overall, from what I've seen, makes sense from a profile perspective, so we'll see. Ivan says, I feel ignored. Why? Ivan says, please tell me what you think if we get Chris Wilder. We will be an amazing side to watch. People will enjoy football. Look at what he did with horrible Sheffield. Well, he made a really condescending remark about Arsenal and the big clubs having all this money to spend, so he doesn't feel bad about, what do you say? He didn't feel bad about something, fixture congestion or something. He made some really snide remarks about the big clubs and how he didn't feel sorry for us and all of this. And so I don't think he'd ever come to Arsenal. And quite frankly, I don't think he's the type of manager that I would want. Somebody who says, basically, I don't care what happens to you guys because you guys have money is just a silly thing to say. And so I wouldn't want him as a manager. Played okay football at Sheffield, did a lot of good things for them. But I don't think that's the type of manager we should go after from a profile perspective or for just I don't like him. Period. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. or not for today, but just for now, I need like at least 4 hours rest, and then I'll be back. Hopefully things happen while I'm gone and we can talk about it then. There's about 196 of you guys watching on all platforms. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. I never have the thing up. Bye.